Hello, this is Mahalia with Impact Teaching, and today I'm just going to talk about the good things about teaching adults here. I teach adults online and in classroom, and I've enjoyed it since I've started teaching adults. And the good things about it are the fact that you can, go more into depth with your conversation classes, because of course, they're even if they might know the English word, their vocabulary is just more extensive on subjects, in current affairs and everything like that. Also, you can be more, or I should say, there's more variety in the conversation as far as like you can go a little business English, a little medical English, a little legal English. So there's like different things that you could talk about in the classroom. Um, One thing I like to teach adults is grammar, because they find it difficult at first. They might be a little scared, but when once they do learn it, they utilize it so well, and they really want to study it and to continue to practice it because they want to perfect their English. Not saying that my younger learners don't do this as well, but when you teach adults, you're specifically asking them what exactly are you learning English for? Because they need to learn English more than likely for their job, or for potential job field that they are interested in being employed in. So you're looking. So when you teach adults, like you are you are targeting your lessons around what they specifically need. So my lessons could be around working in technology, or it could be about working in insurance. It depends on what they might need. So that's a benefit of teaching adults. Some tips for teaching adults: still use games. Even though, yes, they're adults or whatever, think games might be a little kiddie, but they still love games. So still use vocabulary games like Snake, for example, where you have to say a vocab word, and then the next student has to say another vocab word with that letter ending for the last vocab word. So like still use flashcards. Still use those things that you teach your younger learners. Those are adults like those, and they like to study with those as well. My next tip is to give homework. Give homework to your adult students, even though yes, they have very busy lives, and they have their work, and they might have children, or they might be part of a social club, whatever. But they appreciate the fact that they can take from the English lesson and continue to study it during their times. Yes, you're gonna get a lot of Mahalia, I'm so sorry, or to say your name, I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to complete my homework. I had this to do, that to do. Just continue to encourage them to do their homework assignments and everything. And of course, don't make it as, super long for them. It could be a vocab exercise I do, or grammar exercise I might give them. Nothing too extensive for them to just not have the time to do it, or do it all. So like little short homework assignments are really good for adults as well. My third tip, and this might, of course, move on to any student that you might have, regardless of age, but it is to allow them to talk as much as possible. Because if you have I'll just say, for example, a lot of my adults here started out in school learning English, but then they just took a long break, and they just lost their conversation skills with English. So my good tip is to make sure that they talk as much as possible, because they might be one just scared to talk in English just in general. But to encourage them to like give them open answered questions, back to back to back, to get them to talk as much as possible, because then all that vocabulary that erased their minds is going to come back and everything. Even in me, who used to speak Spanish. I used to speak Spanish, and I've lost my conversation skills just from not being able to use it. But I do know when I do have a little language exchange with a Spanish speaking person that it starts to come back. So yeah, so to get them to talk as much as possible, to help them remember all the words and phrases that they forgot. Fourth tip is to always criticize with encouragement. Not not criticize. Always correct their English with encouragement. For example, was and were is really hard for some of my students to do. So, if they say I were going to the post office, you wanted to say, hey, thank you for sharing, but I need you to make sure that you remember I was going to the post office, and make sure you use your past simple verbs correctly. Always do it with positivity. Try not to harshly critique or to correct someone, because it makes people, nervous to speak after that. So always positive. And my fifth tip is to allow, if it's possible, allow your students to sometimes choose their topics for conversation class, because then it might be relevant to their work. It might be relevant to their personal life that they might need it for. So sometimes it helps when your students can choose topics that they want to talk about. And of course, this happens a lot with conversation classes, and it also encourages them to speak more in the classroom. So, sometimes I tell my students, okay, the next 3 classes, what do you want to talk about? And I'll find articles or something, or a video. And sometimes they're like, oh, you choose. But sometimes I encourage a little stronger for them to choose and everything. It's something that's relevant to them, and I can make the class, I can make the topic to help the entire class to speak on it. So sometimes it helps to have your students choose the topics to encourage speaking in the classroom. So those are my 5 tips, and I, use them as often as possible. And yeah, the adults are great. They're great to teach and everything, especially if they already have like knowledge of English, and they're about intermediate. Most of my students are between high A2 and C2. So I've never really got an adult where I really taught like the ABCs to. Always, usually they've known some English, so or learned some English. Sorry. So it's not that bad, and yeah, it's fun. We have a lot of fun in class. I still do games. I still have them watch educational videos and everything like that. So, yay for adults.